Welcome students. So in today's class we shall be learning about the topic of glycogenesis and glycogenolysis. So first of all let us see what is glycogen. So glycogen is storage form of glucose in animals. So it is basically the storage form of glucose in animals. So in plants the storage form is starch, whereas starch is for plants. It's the storage form of glucose in plants. So it is stored mostly, the glycogen is stored mostly in liver. We can say in liver the storage of glycogen is approximately 6 to 8%, whereas in muscles it's around 1 to 2%. So due to more muscle mass, the quantity of glycogen in muscles is about 3 times higher than that of liver. So in liver it is approximately near 75 gram, whereas in muscles it is around 250 grams due to higher muscle mass of body. No doubt the proportion of storage is less in muscles, but due to the volume of muscles the storage capacity is more. Glycogen is stored as granules in the cytosol, where most of the enzymes of glycogen synthesis and breakdown are present. So glycogen is also sometimes referred to as fuel reserve. It is also sometimes referred to as fuel reserve. The reasons for fuel reserve are: number one, due to rapid mobilization of glucose. So it is rapidly mobilized to be changed into glucose. Hence glycogen is considered to be a better source of energy rather than the fats. Secondly, the glycogen can generate energy in the absence of oxygen also. So glycogen can generate energy in absence of oxygen also. And thirdly, the brain depends upon continuous glucose supply. So brain depends on continuous supply of glucose. Hence glycogen is the most preferred source. On the other hand, the fat mobilization is slow and needs more oxygen for energy production, and also cannot produce the glucose to a significant extent, we can say. Thus fat may be considered as a fixed deposit, while glycogen may be as the current or savings account in the bank for the production of glucose. So now let us start with the topic of glycogenesis. So what is glycogenesis? The glycogenesis is synthesis of glycogen from glucose. It's basically or simply the synthesis of glycogen from excess of glucose in the body. And it usually occurs in the cytosol of cell and requires ATP and UTP besides glucose. So it requires basically 3 molecules, ATP, UTP and glucose, to occur along with the various cytosomal enzymes. So now let us start the glycogenesis. The first step in the glycogenesis is synthesis of UDP glucose. So it is synthesis of UDP glucose. The enzyme hexokinase is involved and in muscles and glucokinase in liver to convert glucose into glucose 6-phosphate. Whereas phosphoglucomutase involves the conversion of, or it catalyzes the conversion of glucose 6-phosphate to glucose 1-phosphate. So the synthesis of UDP glucose is in 3 steps, you can say. First of all, let us see what happens. In the first step, glucose is converted into glucose 6-phosphate. Now two enzymes can be acting, glucokinase, and the second one is, I have repeated it already, that is hexokinase. So two enzymes will be here. One is hexokinase and the another one is glucokinase. Now these both enzymes are site specific of their secretion. Enzyme hexokinase is secreted in muscles, whereas enzyme glucokinase is secreted in liver. So they tend to form glucose 6-phosphate along with utilization of one ATP molecule. So in this step, one ATP is utilized to yield one ADP. The next step is conversion of glucose 6-phosphate into glucose 1-phosphate. So this is catalyzed by the enzyme phosphoglucomutase. So this is catalyzed by phosphoglucomutase that leads to formation of glucose 1-phosphate. So after the formation of glucose 1-phosphate, a UTP molecule is utilized, that is uridine triphosphate, in presence of enzyme UDP glucose pyrophosphorylase. So in this two inorganic phosphates are utilized, that leads to formation of UDP glucose. So this is an important step, that is controlling the synthesis of glycogen. So now let us see what happens in this step. So it occurs in presence of enzyme UDP glucose pyrophosphorylase. UDP glucose pyrophosphorylase. So it is leading to formation of UDP glucose molecule. So this is also acting as a primer for synthesis of glycogen, and we shall be marking it as so from now onwards the UDP will be recognized as in this form. So during this step, a UTP or uridine triphosphate is utilized to form inorganic phosphates. So two phosphate molecules are utilized. Now the next step is the step number 2, that is requirement of primer to initiate glycogenesis. So this is the requirement of primer to initiate glycogenesis. So in this step, a small fragment of pre-existing glycogen must act as a primer. So only a pre-existing molecule of glycogen will be acting as a primer to initiate the glycogen synthesis. So, but in absence of glycogen primer, a specific protein named as glycogenin can accept glucose from UDP glucose. So now see, let us how this glycogen primer is formed. This occurs from the UDP glucose In presence of enzyme glycogen initiator synthase. Now the name of enzyme is glycogen initiator synthase. Glycogen initiator synthase. And in presence of one glycogen in molecule, we can say now this is a glycogen in molecule. It leads to formation of a glycogen primer. So here is the formation of a glycogen primer. So students, this is the glycogen primer. So we can see this leads to the synthesis of a glycogen primer unit. The enzyme glycogen initiator synthase transfers the first molecule of glucose to the glycogen. Then the glycogen in itself takes up a few glucose residues to form a fragment of primer which serves as an acceptor for the rest of the glucose molecules. So you can see this leads to ultimately the formation of a glycogen primer. Then comes the third step, that is glycogen synthesis by glycogen synthase enzyme. So it's simply the synthesis of glycogen. So it's basically the synthesis of glycogen. So in this step, the glycogen primer in the presence of glycogen synthase enzyme leads to formation of 1,4-glycosidic linkages. Now let us see what happens. First of all, let us draw the structure for glycogen primer. Now this is the structure for glycogen primer. Now in presence of enzyme glycogen synthase, and UDP glucose units, this leads to formation of the branching units of glycogen that leads to 1,4-glycosidic linkages and leads to formation of glycogen of alpha 1,4 linkages, we can say. So what happens basically, this leads to the alpha 1,4 linkage or the straight line chain formation. We can see here. So these are the glucose or the glycogen units that are being linked like this to the 16th, then to the other. So these are the glycogen linkages and this is the alpha 1,4 linkages. Alpha 1,4 linkages of glycogen. Now the last step is formation of branches in the glycogen. So the fourth step is the branching. Now branching of glycogen. How does the branching of glycogen occurs? In the branching of glycogen, the enzyme glucosyl alpha 4,6 transferase is involved first. Now this leads to alpha 1,6 or the branching linkages. So now let us draw the structure for the straight line glycogen molecule first. So this is a straight line glycogen molecule. We had represented already. The numbers 10 and 16 represent the extending units of glucose. Now this is the alpha 1,4 linked glycogen. Now in presence of enzyme, glucosyl alpha 4,6 transferase, in presence of enzyme, glucosyl alpha 4,6 transferase, this leads to the branching at the alpha 1,6 positions. Now let us see if this is the straight line alpha 1,4,6 glycogen. So here will be the attachment of alpha 1,6 linkage from this carbon. So this leads to branching of glycogen. This is the 11th one, and by extending this can be further elongated. So these are the alpha 1,6 bond formation. So further the elongation by glycogen synthase and branching by the glucosyl 4,6 transferase enzyme, this leads to further elongation and branching. It leads to formation of a glycogen molecule. Now ultimately the glycogen molecule is formed. So the overall reaction for glycogen synthesis for the addition of each glucose residue is, we can say, glucose n number of times. Now addition of each glucose molecule here in presence of 2 ATPs will lead to formation of the glycogen that is represented as glucose n plus 1 plus 2 ADP and inorganic phosphate. So of the 2 ATP utilized, one is required for the phosphorylation of glucose while the other is needed for conversion of UDP to UTP. So students, this was regarding the glycogenesis. Now the next important metabolic cycle is glycogenolysis. So this is basically the degradation of stored glycogen. Whenever there is the energy requirement, the body directly in presence of certain enzyme leads to the exhaustion of the glycogen stores that leads to production of glucose. So how this occurs, we shall be learning it in a short. In the first step, the glycogen molecule In presence of enzyme glycogen phosphorylase, the name of enzyme is glycogen phosphorylase. It leads to production of limit dextrins. It leads to formation of limit dextrins. The glycogen so formed is known as the limit dextrin, which cannot be further degraded by phosphorylase. So the glycogen phosphorylase possesses a molecule of pyridoxal phosphate covalently bonded to the enzyme, and this leads to formation of glucose 1-phosphate also. In presence of the inorganic phosphates, this leads to formation of glucose 1-phosphate. Then occurs the debranching of this limit dextrin. So at present the limit dextrins are containing the alpha 1,6 bonds, so it's still branched, but in presence of enzyme transferase, so this is the debranching enzyme transferase, this is causing the debranching. It leads to formation of a polypeptide that is debranched now. And in action of further phosphorylase enzymes, this leads to formation of glucose 1-phosphate. So simply we can write here glucose 1-phosphate also. This is accompanied by removal of a free glucose unit. So in every step of debranching, a glucose molecule is released. So glucose 1-phosphate further leads to formation of glucose 6-phosphate in presence of enzyme phosphoglucomutase. So in presence of enzyme phosphoglucomutase, it leads to formation of glucose 1-phosphate. It leads to formation of glucose 6-phosphate. So glucose 6-phosphate can enter into, we can say, glycolysis also directly, leading to generation of ATP. Or it may further be changed in liver to form glucose in presence of enzyme glucose 6-phosphatase. Now here the enzyme is glucose 6-phosphatase, that leads to formation of glucose in liver. So ultimately this glucose will be subjected again to glycolysis. So this reaction occurs in liver. So students, this was all regarding the glycogenolysis. So it's a simple process of the breakdown of glycogen into glucose. Now there are various methods for regulation of the glycogen synthesis. They may be allosteric, hormonal, or influence of calcium, we can say. So one by one we shall be learning how these are changed. The important one is the allosteric regulation of glycogenesis and glycogenolysis. So let us see what is the allosteric regulation of glycogenesis. Now comes another topic here, the allosteric regulation. So it involves the use of various inhibitors and activators. So inhibitors, they basically inhibit the enzyme at particular steps so that the cycle cannot further proceed, whereas the activators helps in activation of that particular enzyme to speed up the whole metabolic cycle. So now let us first of all draw the simple form of the glycogen glycogenesis and glycogenolysis. We can simply write glycogen here and glucose 1-phosphate here. Now for synthesis of glycogen, the enzyme glycogen synthase is the most important one that leads to formation of a glycogen molecule from glucose 1-phosphate. So the name of enzyme is glycogen synthase. So it is activated by presence of glucose 6-phosphate. So I am writing activate here with this color, orange color, and with a plus sign. So this is the activator, the glucose 6-phosphate. It helps the initiation of glycogenesis. This particular enzyme this particular molecule glucose 6-phosphate. Now in the glycogenolysis, the main step is conversion of glycogen into glucose 6-phosphate in presence of enzyme glycogen phosphorylase. So the major enzyme involved here is glycogen phosphorylase. So the inhibitors will be represented by the black color here. So these are basically, we can say, glucose 6-phosphate first of all. So glucose 6-phosphate is acting as a inhibitor for glycogen phosphorylase. Then ATP, the energy molecule, they also tend to inhibit this step, and ultimately the glucose present in the liver. So the glucose that is present in the liver, we can say, the glucose which is present in liver may also lead to inhibition of glycogen phosphorylase, whereas the activators, I shall be representing the activators again with the orange color here, they are stored in the muscles of the body. So I am simply representing this as a muscle. The stored calcium and adenosine monophosphate, or the AMP, they both will be acting as initiators or activators for glycogenolysis. So they both are involved in the glycogenolysis. So this was all regarding the allosteric inhibition of, or we can say allosteric regulation of glycogenesis and glycogenolysis. So students, I hope now the two reactions or the two life cycles are clear to you, that are glycogenesis and glycogenolysis. So in the glycogenesis, we can simply see that the first important reaction is synthesis of a UDP glucose molecule that occurs from the presence of a glucose, in which glucose is converted into glucose 6-phosphate. So this is an important reaction, and this is happening in presence of glucokinase in liver and hexokinase in muscles, and ultimately the glucose 6-phosphate is converted into glucose 1-phosphate, and this glucose 1-phosphate molecule in presence of enzyme UDP glucose pyrophosphorylase is converted into UDP glucose. So this is acting as an initiator for glycogenesis. This may act as an initiator for glycogenesis. Then comes the requirement of a primer. The primer may be acting as a UDP glucose or a glycogenin molecule. We can see here, this is a glycogenin molecule here that will be simply acting for acting as a primer for synthesis of glycogen. Otherwise, a molecule of glycogen is required to start this reaction. It is acting as a primer. Then it leads to formation of a glycogen primer. Then the glycogen synthesis occurs in presence of enzyme glycogen synthase, that is quite important, and leads to alpha 1,4 linkages of glycogen. It leads to formation of straight chains. I hope you all are familiar with the formation of polysaccharides that we have covered in our first chapter of carbohydrates. Then comes the branching of glycogen. The branching of glycogen occurs in presence of glucosyl transferase enzyme, and it leads to formation of alpha 4,6 linkages and tends to form alpha 1,6 bonds here. You can see, and further elongation and branching leads to the synthesis of glycogen. Now then this glycogen, in presence of glycogen phosphorylase enzyme, it undergoes the breakdown to form limidextrins and release of 1-glucose phosphate. Then in presence of transferase and phosphorylase enzymes, this undergoes debranching to release glucose 1-phosphate, and which undergoes isomerization in presence of phosphoglucomutase enzyme and leads to glucose 6-phosphate. Now the formation of glucose 6-phosphate is further subjugated to two parts, that is, either it may enter into the glycolysis or it leads to formation of glucose inside the liver in presence of phosphatase enzyme. So this was all regarding the glycogenesis and glycogenolysis. The allosteric regulation is given as follows. You can see, for glycogen synthase, glucose 6-phosphate is acting as a activator. So this is causing the activation, or we can see these are the activators, whereas the compounds that are represented in black color, see here with a cross mark just like this, they are acting as inhibitors. So I hope students this is all clear to you now. Revise it and learn it.